10 million, 25 million, $50 million. These are numbers that are getting thrown around when it comes to Swiss banks. And guess what? Some people, they do make deposits at these levels when opening accounts in Switzerland, but you don't need to deposit $10 million in order to get your foot in the door. In fact, you don't even need to deposit $1 million to open a Swiss bank account. And in this video, I'm going to expose one of the biggest secrets about Swiss bank account opening, which is how much money do you really need to open a Swiss bank account? If this is your first time on the channel, my name is Chris. I'm the head of banking relationships here at GlobalBanks. We help investors and entrepreneurs navigate cross-border banking and financial services. And that includes establishing private banking and wealth management relationships with major banks in jurisdictions like Switzerland. Now, there is a long list of lies that are being pushed around about Swiss banking, from Swiss banks being stuffy and unsophisticated to US citizens being forbidden from opening Swiss bank accounts in the first place, which is 100% false. But one of the biggest lies about Switzerland is that you need millions of dollars in order to open a Swiss bank account at any Swiss bank, and that is just not the case. Though, like I have shared in past videos, for Swiss private banking to make sense, you do need to make a qualifying deposit, though what constitutes a qualifying deposit will range, depending on your financial institution of choice, the specific individual applying for an account, and the objectives for that account. Quick note here, if you are looking to open a Swiss private bank account, then you want to be coming in between $500,000 and $1 million as an initial deposit. But money isn't the only factor that will determine whether or not you should be using private banks. I'm going to be breaking down all of the variables, including who should and shouldn't consider private banking, in an upcoming video. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure you subscribe so you get notified when that video is published. All right, let's talk about Swiss banking. You see, Switzerland is home to a wide range of banks, not just private banks, and a lot of these other Swiss banks can also be accessed by foreign non-residents, if you know how to approach them. And no surprise, if you are looking to open with other banks, these non-private banks, you can expect to deposit a lot less. How low depends on the bank, your profile, the type of account that you want to open, and even how you plan on opening that account. But the point is, lower deposits do exist in Switzerland, and I'm going to share exactly how low in a second. To help explain these deposit amounts, I'm going to be covering 5 key thresholds going from highest to lowest. And the first threshold that we're going to cover is $5 million and up. Okay, quick note here when talking about these deposit levels, obviously banks in Switzerland, they are using Swiss francs, but when we're talking at these deposit levels, banks, they typically accept francs, dollars, even euros when opening accounts. Basically, whichever currency you prefer will be acceptable in terms of opening bank accounts and the deposit requirements that banks are going to impose on you. But to keep things simple, I'm going to be talking about dollars in this video. So if you are a Swiss banker and you're watching this, don't worry, we know that Switzerland uses the Swiss franc. Okay, there are 3 different scenarios when someone will be asked for $5 million or higher deposit. And this includes when they're high risk, they're American, which is technically higher risk for banks, or they want to bank at one of 2 types of Swiss private banks. Either a brand name institution like UBS or a super exclusive family-run bank that you've probably never heard of. And when you make a $5 million deposit, you're unlocking top-tier private banking from some of the best banks on the planet. At this level, you can expect private banking and wealth management services ranging from discretionary management to estate planning, as well as tax advisory and a whole host of other services and products. That said, this is not the highest tier of wealth management, far from it. A more extreme example, that might be UBS Family Office Solutions Group. They only accept clients with $100 million in net worth or more. But for the vast majority of people, this $5 million threshold is going to give them access to the sort of banking that will cover all of their needs. And if you're high risk or an American, being able to deposit $5 million, it's going to help open doors that are otherwise firmly going to be closed to you. All right, let's drop down to the next level, which is $3 million to $5 million. This is a pretty standard deposit range for Swiss private banking, and it's between $3 million and $5 million that most Swiss private bankers want their clients to come in at. And the reason for this is pretty simple. When a client can deposit between $3 million and $5 million, they pass 2 important tests for the bank. First, they're clearly qualified from a financial perspective, and second, it's clear to the bank that they can hit their revenue target for the account by generating sufficient fees off of products and services. And this is actually an important point. Private banks, they typically have a set amount that they're looking to generate per client. And whether you're depositing $5 million or $3 million, or even considerably lower, that revenue target, it usually stays the same. And that's why, as we explore some of these lower amounts, you're gonna start to notice that fees become more of an issue. Because banks, they need to charge higher fees directly to the client instead of generating revenue through investments or services. Basically, the lower your deposit, the harder it is for the bank to make money. And speaking about lower deposits, the next level that we're going to talk about, it's $1 million to $3 million. This is widely seen as the minimum balance required to get into private banking. And while that's not necessarily true, this is the range where most people will start to benefit from the products and services that Swiss private banks have to offer. Said a bit differently, when you maintain a balance of between $1 million and $3 million, you can usually offset all of the fees that Swiss banks will charge you through investments. But even at this level, if you're only using Swiss banks for investing and not taking advantage of the many other solutions that they offer, like creative financing, lending, and advisory services, it can also make sense to explore alternatives like low-cost investment platforms instead. I'm going to be digging into the topic of online and international brokerage platforms in an upcoming video, so if that's something you're interested in, make sure you subscribe. But like I said, this $1 million to $3 million deposit range is a common entry point for Swiss private banking. And it's a similar range that most people should expect when opening in other jurisdictions that offer comparable private banking services. Think places like Singapore, Luxembourg, Hong Kong, even the United States, UK, Austria, and Liechtenstein, though these last two, they're on the lower end of that deposit requirement. But importantly, if you are coming in between $1 million and $3 million, you do need to be extremely careful about fees. That's because there are a lot of hidden fees baked into private banking mandates that most people completely overlook. If you want the full breakdown of all of these hidden fees, I just released a video where I walk you through the most important ones you need to watch out for, as well as the steps to make sure you are not getting overcharged by your bank. This is a really important video for anyone considering private banking and wealth management, so whether you're looking to bank in Switzerland or other major banking hubs, I'll have the team link that video up here in case you're interested. Okay, so let's jump down to the next level, which is $500,000 to $1 million. At this $500,000 level, we're getting close to the bare bones starting point for private banking, at least in a European sense. And at this level, if you can only afford to deposit $500,000, you're not really going to benefit from the wealth management solutions, structuring options, tax planning, or estate planning that Swiss private banks can offer you. And the main reason for that is you don't need it, at least not yet. Instead, $500,000 can get your foot in the door at credible Swiss banks, and you will be able to secure your money through investments in a very stable jurisdiction. You'll also have access to a relationship manager, and that relationship manager is going to try and push products and services on you that you may or may not require. So make sure you're ready for that. Listen, do you need private banking if you can only deposit $500,000? No, probably not. But if you are on a trajectory and can benefit from the other services that private banking relationship can offer you, then it can still make sense. If that's not you, then you'll probably be better off with international premier banking or a combination of retail banking and international brokerages instead, depending on what you're optimizing for. And that brings up a really important point. You shouldn't just be looking to open a Swiss private bank account for the sake of having a Swiss private bank account. You should be looking for the best bank that matches your objectives and is willing to offer what you need at a reasonable price. And when you get to these lower deposit levels, it can be very difficult to find a bank that matches that criteria. But we still get a lot of people asking about Swiss private banking at these lower levels. And this next deposit level is probably going to surprise you. But before I continue, if you're finding this interesting or you want more videos where I break down the specific deposit requirements in different countries, please give this video a like so that we know we should keep making more videos like this for you in the future. Okay, now the next level down is $250,000 to $500,000. Now the lower end of this range, $250,000, is not a private banking deposit. Instead, this is what we consider a premier banking level deposit. And if you can come in at this level, you'll be able to open accounts with international banks in almost every reputable jurisdiction in the world. Think Singapore, UK, UAE, US, and many other jurisdictions. Though these banks might even be overkill if you don't require cross-border transfers or access to a broad range of international investments or support in different jurisdictions. Now, Switzerland doesn't have premier banking, which shouldn't be a huge surprise since it's the birthplace of private banking and wealth management. So why am I even including $250,000 on this list? Well, it's because you can still open private bank accounts here at this level. In fact, while $250,000 is far below the desired level of Swiss private banks, it is within that accepted range that private bankers are willing to consider. If, and this is a big if, you can meet 3 qualifications. First, you have to be someone that is easy to onboard from a compliance perspective. No high risk, no African gold mines, no black market crypto. None of that stuff is going to work at this level. Second, you need to understand that Swiss private banking is all about long-term relationships, and you need to be willing to build that relationship over time with your banker. And third, you need to have a profile that will result in your balance increasing over time, significantly, either through a liquidation event like selling a company, having a very high income job, or clear expectations of inheritance in the future. Now, believe it or not, there's even lower deposit requirements at certain Swiss banks. And if you meet the 3 qualifications that I just shared with you, you can even open with some of the most reputable Swiss private banks available at these lower levels, though you won't be getting a lot of value until you increase your balance. The point is, the deposit requirements that Swiss private banks require, they can be high, but if you know which banks to approach and the specific benefits that you are looking to extract, then there is a deposit level that can make sense for most people. So that's one major Swiss banking secret busted. You do not need millions of dollars to open a Swiss private bank account, but there are 7 other Swiss banking secrets that basically no one talks about. And I share these 7 secrets along with how you can take advantage of them in this video right here. So go ahead, click that, and I'll see you over there right now.